Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We're just going to give it a couple more minutes just to let a few people to enter the webinar, and we'll be starting very shortly. Thank you for anyone who's just entered the room. We're just giving it a few more seconds to enable people to log in to the webinar. We'll be starting in just a moment. Thank you for the thumbs up. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining here today. We've just given it a couple of minutes and we're about to start. I've already received the first question today, which is about whether this will be recorded. And yes, so rest assured you don't need to capture everything. This is going to be recorded and a link will be shared to you after the webinar. Before we start, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of country across all of Western Australia and pay our respects to elders past and present. And we recognise Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples as Australia's first innovators, and we pay our respects to their deep knowledge systems, sustainable land management practices, and rich cultural traditions that have shaped these lands, waters, skies, and communities for tens of thousands of years. My name is Diana Barry, and I am Operations Coordinator at GreenTech Hub. And it's my pleasure to welcome you here today for our discussion about the long game. The long game is our innovation challenge that's focused on long duration energy storage that's suited to WA's unique needs. Today in the presentation, we'll talk about the GreenTech Hub and give you details about the challenge process. And the things that we'll cover today is things such as timeframes, how submissions are assessed, and the judging process. So what you could expect if you make it through to a shortlist, to the shortlisted stages. Now, following that, we will have a Q&A session and you're free to submit your questions. You can actually type in your questions as the presentations are going along, and we will try our best to answer them at the end, or I can maybe put a few responses in there for you as well. It's really important that we put the submit questions in not the chat function, but in the Q&A function on the black bar at the bottom of your screen. The Q&A function has a question mark. So that is the place to put your questions. So we'll have a Q&A at the end, and hopefully today we'll be able to provide you with what you need, and we're looking forward to sharing our information with you. And now I'm going to hand over to introduce our presenter, then our next presenter. So it's Jason McFarlane, who is the Director of GreenTech Hub.
Good morning, everybody. Yeah, my name's Jason McFarlane. It's fantastic to see so many people come along and join us today. Thank you very much for taking the time, and I hope this is a reflection of the interest in submitting to this, our first challenge from the GreenTech Hub. So just a little bit of an introduction to the Hub itself. We are a new initiative that was established by the Western Australian State Government, but hosted by Curtin University, that seeks to inspire, mobilise and drive green tech innovation and entrepreneurship across Western Australia. We have a focus on green tech in a broad sense that encompasses technologies and solutions and innovations around everything from decarbonisation right through to biodiversity and across to the circular economy. And we really are focusing on on fostering opportunities that might be innovative opportunities and innovations from all over the globe that have an application within Western Australia. So again, we've been established by the Western Australian State Government through the Department of Energy and Economic Diversification. We're hosted by Curtin University and supported by the Gorgon Joint Venture. Our scope really encompasses sort of three questions around Western Australia. The first is that we are seeking solutions to challenges being faced by Western Australian industry and communities applicable to green technologies. So, and we're looking for challenges that have a level of global relevance and significance. So I guess our first starting point is to engage with industry, and we'll talk a little bit about how we've done that with this first challenge, to really understand what are the needs that exist within our local market that could be scaled and could, I guess, be applicable across the globe. The next question we ask is why would you innovate here? And WA is a unique economy. It's a unique set of communities. It's a massive land mass and massive coastline. And we do bring to bear a whole bunch of opportunities to foster innovations in ways that probably are pretty unique globally. We have a very large industrial base that is seeking to invest in solutions. We have a very strong infrastructure network that spans right across the globe. We have very, very strong linkages with global markets. We have unique communities in a range of different unique contexts. And we have a highly motivated government that's looking to invest in the green transition. So within all of that, there's opportunities to foster innovation, and we're looking for innovations that really want to seize those opportunities. And then ultimately, we are a state initiative. We're looking for ways in which the state's communities, the state's industry can benefit from innovation. So how do we link innovations that drive investment, drive job creation, and ultimately economic prosperity and resilience for the state? We have three different programmatic activities that we run through the Hub. We run innovation challenges like the one we're talking to today, but we also have a range of different programs that we'll be developing around building capacity within the state, but also building a community of practice across the state, across green technologies. And it's really these three activities sort of, I guess, working together that we see as being impactful in the work that we do. So this is our first of the innovation challenges that we're running within the Hub. It's called the Long Game. This has been scoped. The focus on long duration energy storage was identified late last year by a wide range of industry, community and government stakeholders who really did identify one of the key challenges to decarbonisation across the state as being the proliferation of long duration energy storage solutions in a wide range of contexts. And in engaging with industry this year, as we've started to build towards this launch, we've heard from a wide range of partners as to the need to innovate, to deal with market failure and technological failure or technological challenges that mean that we can actually implement long duration storage solutions of over 10 hours and up to seasonal storage solutions across a wide range of contexts within the state. So we're looking to work with innovators to develop, accelerate and scale breakthrough solutions that really do lead to deployment of long duration energy storage solutions and opportunities and innovations right across the state. We have a wide range of stakeholders. Being a state initiative, we're working alongside our government partners, but also academic and industry partners to identify solutions that really are applicable to real world challenges being faced, but also issues or opportunities that are open to investment from different parties, including corporate and corporate joint ventures and others, to really drive these innovations forward. So we really are sort of looking to facilitate real world outcomes in a wide range of settings across the state through this program. For those who maybe aren't from the state, just a little bit about our energy context or that's applicable. We have, like a lot of jurisdictions, we have a legislated 2050 target to realise net zero emissions across the state, with statutory targets being established, including an 80% reduction by 2030 for Scope 1 and Scope 2 emissions across the state. We have an extensive power grid in the Southwest Integrated System, which covers around 260,000 square kilometres, which serves the large population base in the Southwest, with extensive grids also within the Pilbara servicing the major industrial activities in the Pilbara. We have extensive rooftop penetration, with around 40% of Swiss households having rooftop solar, and an enormous demand, enormous challenge in managing the level of solar penetration into the grid over the coming decades. We also have an extensive network of smaller microgrids throughout the state, across regional communities, including services to some of the most isolated communities across the globe. And these microgrids serve a whole bunch of different contexts, including everything from remote Aboriginal communities through to industrial infrastructure in remote settings. We've also got some of the largest battery deployments occurring across Australia currently. Only this week, there's the announcement of Collie, the phase 2 of the Collie battery, with the first 2+ gigawatt hour battery being deployed in Australia, being turned on in Collie just this week. So there's active activity around the investment in battery technologies and storage solutions across the grid. We've obviously a strong commodity-based economy with logistics and remote infrastructure really driving a lot of our local exports, but also, I guess, our national exports as well. So huge amounts of strategic infrastructure that does need to decarbonise in coming decades, and needs the sorts of infrastructure that we're talking about today to realise that. And ultimately, we need this infrastructure to meet our decarbonisation targets, but we also recognise in a lot of these settings that long duration energy storage is critical to stabilising grids and critical to the economic resilience of supply chains and the resilience of communities to deal with coming challenges around shocks related to climate change and simply, I guess, the changing context of our environment. So in working with industry, there's been 4 use cases that have come up again and again in the work that we've been doing, and we've been hearing about these use cases, in quite a wide range of different contexts. Again, from remote operations and industry that's working in industrial and remote settings, right through to communities and infrastructure providers who are servicing communities right across the state. The 4 use cases are fairly high level, but we'll go into them in a little detail. The first is around the need for LDES to service energy intensive industries, including our strategic industrial areas and our strategic industrial infrastructure, as well as the digital infrastructure that already has been established across the state, but is, I guess, growing in demand. There's the need to service remote and regional microgrids and remote and regional, services, right from, I guess, mobile deployment into exploration sites across the regions, through to remote Aboriginal communities and remote communities that are operating their standalone microgrids. There's the need to invest in grid flexibility around our larger grid, the Swiss and the Pilbara integrated network, that essentially underpins the ability to expand the capacity of those networks and stabilise grids to take on more renewables over time and underpin strategic industrial infrastructure investment into the future. And there's the need to unlock the business of the battery, look at ways through digital technologies and different operating solutions that can actually realise different ways of monetising and building a business model that actually supports and facilitates investment in long duration energy storage batteries. And that comes up time and time again across all of these use cases, is that there is market failure in a lot of cases as to the case for investment, and that we need to think about not only the policy settings, but also whether there are actually technologies that can unlock those sorts of capabilities. So just to go into those in a little more detail, energy intensive infrastructure or energy intensive industries, we've certainly heard from both operators of industrial infrastructure and operators of digital infrastructure, including the Pawsey supercomputer just here in Perth, that's taking on a lot of the data infrastructure or the data challenges associated with the implementation of the Square Kilometre Array Radio Telescope project in the Midwest. That there is a need for long duration energy storage projects that suit and are fit for purpose for their particular use cases. In a lot of cases, they're looking for high power, low latency output, significant levels of storage that can deal with, I guess, different levels of thermal efficiencies and also safety associated with that's required in different settings. And ultimately, these need to be cost competitive. In a lot of cases, the industrial infrastructure is operating at sort of wafer thin margins, and in a lot of cases, they need to see solutions that are very, very efficient and cost efficient and cost effective in their deployment. We have regional microgrids that are needed right across the state, across the 30 or so microgrids that are being operated by our regional operator, Horizon Power, but also within private microgrids that are operating around regional resource projects. There's a need to consider ways that we can implement storage solutions that allow for electrification of fixed and mobile plant that do compete in a cost competitive manner with gas cogen and diesel solutions, which are essentially the standard solution as it currently stands, that are easy to set up and operate, and that can essentially integrate in with a range of different renewable inputs, and ultimately are tolerant to extreme temperatures and extreme conditions that often exist across those communities. Grid flexibility, there's a need to, like in many grids across the globe, to manage the fluctuation in renewable generation over time, whether that's not only across day and night, but also across seasonal variations. And I guess there's opportunities to consider solutions in this larger scale solutions under this use case that might integrate with thermal or molecular storage of energy, as well as through electrons, that can also potentially encompass things like geological batteries and other solutions that are larger capex but can underpin economic infrastructure for decades and right into the future. These obviously, within these sorts of environments, and in most of these use cases, there's very, very low tolerance for failure. So we need to have proven durability, safety, and reliability. And ultimately, these need to be able to be integrated into the myriad of various solutions that exist within a major grid. And ultimately, digital enablers, so innovations that do help the business case for long duration energy storage stack up. These might include ways to share risk ways to capture trade-offs and share, I guess, the implications of trade-offs. There might be alternative ways to contract services, to levy services performed by long-duration energy storage, and ultimately, I guess, opportunities to attract alternative forms of investment into storage. So again, this isn't about the policy settings that might unlock battery investment, but more about the innovations that could exist under business as usual or trend types of policy environments that can just allow for different perspectives and different ways of essentially operating the battery itself. So the challenge is opening next month. Will be live for submissions as of the 8th of September, with submissions closing on the 31st of October, with the view then that in December at WestTech Fest, which is Western Australia's premier technology showcase and technology conference, we'll be showcasing the shortlisted technologies that I guess have come through the judging process that we'll be facilitating with industry. And then ultimately in the new year, we'll be working with shortlisted technologies to refine down to a final list of, I guess, champion technologies that we'll work with to bring them alongside industry partners, alongside government stakeholders, and curate a program to support champion technologies to be deployed or to at least progress your technology within the Western Australian context. We are a hub that essentially works on a curation model. So we're looking to curate a solution or a program of activity for each of the successful applicants that fits your business model, that fits how you want to progress your innovation and aligns it to the needs and to the priorities of local industry and local stakeholders. And we have a myriad of groups that are very interested in working with us. So to date, some of the partners who have been involved in the scoping of the challenge are listed here. They include a lot of the major industry players from right across Western Australia's commodity industries, network operators, and research partners, as well as a number of funders who are very, very interested in seeing the technologies that can be championed through this process. A lot of these partners as well will be involved in judging the submissions that come in, and it's up to, I guess, as a hub, we're looking to industry partners to identify the solutions that they want to see us progress and champion. So what we'll be doing with these partners is essentially sitting alongside them to understand how different technologies can meet their needs and identify the technologies that they want to see to progress via the challenge. So there's essentially two phases of assessment through this challenge. The first is via submission. Again, submissions due 31st of October. And we'll be looking to filter challenges. We'll be asking assessors to assess challenges to submissions against their relevance to the Western Australian use cases, their points of innovation and their points of differentiation. Importantly, this isn't for tech that is mature. This is for tech and for solutions that are looking and presenting something that's innovative and hasn't been seen in the market as yet. To look at the technical viability and deployment readiness of solutions. It doesn't mean that we're only interested in late TRL technologies. We're interested in technologies from TRL 3 right through to 7, 8, and 9. So we're looking for deployable technologies, but also technologies that maybe are very early in their development, but that have a lot of potential to be accelerated and have a strong impact into the future. Obviously, team capability and execution is critical. A lot of technologies and a lot of, I guess, initiatives fall over on team. So very, very interested in who's involved and to what extent. and ultimately what is the solution's scalability, the ability to integrate, and ultimately the ability to export and meet global need. The second phase of the assessment will be in December, ideally in person, but recognising that there may be technologies from a range of different markets. We can also arrange virtual pitches, but ultimately the opportunity to pitch to industry and to the assessors, and to not only communicate, I guess, the work of the first submission, but also start to talk and explore cost effectiveness and life cycle performance of technologies. What is the underpinning economic model or potential economic model for solutions, and ultimately how could they potentially be tested and deployed, and how could they best be supported within a Western Australian context. So, and I guess on the basis of that, we'll be selecting the final submissions to be championed in going forward. So in terms of, I guess, benefits to submittees, high potential shortlisted submissions will be promoted via the GreenTech website and socials and listed in the media as a finalist. There'll be opportunities to attend WestTech Fest and showcase and pitch events, including the opportunity to present your wares at a rotating trade desk amongst finalists. There'll be 5 hours of GreenTech support with us to sit down and work with each of the finalists to understand your technology and I guess your needs, and to potentially put you in touch with various people within our network and think about different ways that we might be able to support you. Obviously, there'll be opportunity to pitch your wares in front of an industry judging panel of interested parties who are invested in finding solutions to these particular use cases. And there'll be a series of communication outputs that you can utilise in your promotion. For challenge groundbreakers or champions that are chosen to progress, which is ultimately the 5 that we will champion. There'll be a standalone pitch day to celebrate your technologies with a range of different stakeholders from government, industry, and infrastructure invited to essentially promote your solution. Again, there'll be a range of different promotional materials to help celebrate and communicate your outcomes. There'll be a dedicated support plan. So we'll be sitting down with each of these 5 and really developing a program that is suited to the technology and where the technology is at and where the team's at, to help build capability, to help make introductions into industry, to help make introductions into other markets, to really work at whatever is needed to help progress that technology forward, again, within the Western Australian context. Generally, as part of that, we envisage there will be a facilitated industry roundtable where your innovation will be put forward and communicated, and I guess worked with a range of different stakeholders that align to the use cases that you're seeking to solve, and to really, I guess, get a group of interested parties in a room to all collectively think about how they might help progress your technology forward or your innovation forward. These technologies will also be invited to be involved in future trade missions that will be hosted by the GreenTech Hub. We've already got a number of different I guess, market opportunities identified into the future. They might be in conjunction with some of Western Australia's trade offices throughout the US, the Middle East, India, the UK and other markets. And I guess through those, to really utilise WA's trade channels to promote technologies into other settings. And likewise, locally, in terms of industry outreach, the more we understand these technologies, the more we understand the needs of these innovators to progress, we'll be working to champion you through all the different programs that we'll be running into the future. We also do have capacity to support early stage TRLs to access incubator and accelerator programs through the hub, and for late TRLs to work with industry, potentially through that roundtable process, to identify opportunities to pilot and deploy into market in different settings. How we do that and how those things look will ultimately depend on the characteristics of the ultimate groundbreakers that have been identified by industry as the high potential technologies for us to champion. So really, just to hit that home, there's a number of different leverage opportunities that arrive from this hub. This isn't I guess, a program where we're looking to give you a check and I guess not necessarily lose contact. We want to work with you on an ongoing basis to really champion your technologies forward. So whether that's through market introductions, whether that's through developing and building your networks, through endorsement of technology in different settings, through providing you with opportunities for verification and validation, through research partners and industry partners, potentially to host pilots or support the hosting of pilots, and ultimately to champion technologies and with funders is all, I guess, part of the hub's proposition to you in being involved in this particular initiative. So that's really it for me. Sorry, that was a little bit of a lecture, but yeah, I hope that was useful. Please do throw up any questions that you might have for us, and yeah, we really do look forward to working with you to understanding the technologies that might be, I guess, suitable to the use cases that we're putting forward. And please, at any time, reach out to us. We'd love to support the important work that you all do.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you, Jason. That was very tight. I have a host of questions here, so I will just begin to share them. So given that a lot of submitters will be having some unique IP, could you share more about the retention of IP and how that works?
Good question. So within the submission process, ultimately, we won't be, I guess, the IP remains with the submitter at all times. So the platform we'll be using will allow you to submit both public and private information to the judging panel, and the judging panel will be, I guess, asked to agree to a privacy or undertake a privacy agreement to be involved, so that they undertake around confidentiality of submissions as part of their process in judging. So, I mean, ultimately, the platform we'll be using will mean that information is locked down and is only available to judges until such time as proponents wish to share that information with other parties. So, ultimately, it sits with you.
Thank you. And just another question here. You mentioned that this isn't for tech that's mature or has been seen in the market, but what if the tech is high TRL and has been deployed elsewhere, but hasn't been seen extensively in Australia beyond demonstration sites, for example, flow batteries?
Good question. I mean, I think it will be, to a certain extent, it'll be up to the judging panel to assess from their perspective whether they see this as an innovative solution or not. Ultimately, I do think, yeah, the innovation, it is innovative sometimes to show markets that don't necessarily understand the tech as yet what the solution can do. And ultimately, it is innovative to trial and show that the efficacy of a solution in a different operating context. So there is opportunities in that space. I would encourage you, though, to think about what you can bring that is unique to the, I guess, your submission. If it is something which is simply about deploying a highly mature tech into a new market, think about ways in which we might innovate around how we deploy. I think in a lot of cases in Western Australia, what we are really good at is building the frames that can deploy a battery into very remote settings and ruggedize them for uniquely Western Australian settings. It might be about how we develop the batching plants for flow batteries so that they can be deployed into settings that otherwise it would be very challenging to deploy, whatever it might be. Yeah, I'd encourage you to find that spark that really does sort of show that there is some new and innovative solutions that you might bring to bear through this program.
Okay, thanks. So if I'm interested in being involved somehow, maybe as a challenge mentor, but not someone actually making a submission, how can I do that?
Oh, please reach out. Yeah, ultimately, I guess we are the whole scoping of this hub and Western Australia's innovation hubs in general is that we are a front door into the state's network, whether that's industry, whether that's regional communities, whether that's operators, infrastructure. Essentially, we would love to link in as many different pieces of the I guess of the green tech network, both locally and globally, as we can to really foster high impact solutions. So if you want to be part of that, we'd love to work with you.
Great. And this question is, if one of the challenge champions wants to test a prototype of a solution, will funding be made available for that?
We don't have access to funding directly, but what we do have is the ability to champion, I guess, and bring together parties who might jointly fund those sorts of programs. So, yeah, there's limited funding within the hub itself to invest into individual pilots or individual solutions, but the idea of this hub is, and already what we're seeing through our partners, is a real willingness to work together to find ways to deploy high impact technologies into markets. So, yeah, a big part of that roundtable, I guess, in the new year with each of these successful applicants will be how to sit down and, I guess, share capital, share risk, find the resources and the leverage that can actually mean that we can facilitate deployment into the real world.
Okay. I'm just reminding anybody, if you have any more questions, it's just so we can make sure they're captured, you can just pop them into the Q&A with a question mark down at the bottom. I have a question here. I heard you mention collaboration is an opportunity, and how will you support collaboration between solution providers?
It's a really good question. I think a big part of these innovation challenges is consideration for how we might deal with some quite complex implementation, and that in a lot of cases the different technologies and different innovations solve a third of the ultimate I guess challenge for deployment. And so I guess we will have an opportunity through this process to identify opportunity where there might be some different innovations that might together be able to solve a need and provide opportunities for collaboration through that process. It is an open innovation process as well. So through this process, there will be opportunities for innovators to listen and work with each other, and ultimately consider whether or not there's opportunities for them and a desire for them to collaborate to produce an outcome. We certainly do want and do encourage, I guess, consortia and groups that may wish to work together to really come together around this project. A good example of that is the consideration of how Indigenous trading enterprises and regional sort of, I guess, engineering firms and fabricators and remote operators could potentially all be party to actually sort of facilitating a technological solution. So thinking outside of the square and really thinking about who you could be working with to deliver a high impact outcome is a big part of the challenge.
There's a quick question here. Are you currently partnering with Powering Australia?
Yes. Powering Australia have been involved in some of the conversations. At this stage, I guess we don't have formal corporate relationships or formal sort of, I guess, relationships with a lot of the parties. We're still, I guess, in building this challenge where we're formalising those relationships as we go. But we certainly have had strong interest from, I guess, a number of different think tanks and groups that are driving the decarbonisation agenda across Australia, with a desire to be involved in this process.
Yep. We have another funding question. what level and type of funding will be available along the project development cycle from early stage studies through to implementation?
Again, we don't have masses of funds available directly through the GreenTech Hub. We have I guess a budget that's associated with how we might that can be allocated to support successful applicants. And again, if that's an early stage venture that's low TRL, that's looking to commercialise R&D out of a uni and needs to access an accelerator and potentially access a couple of other markets to test their ideas, then that's something we can support. For later stage, we might be able to support trade missions into other markets and those sorts of things. But ultimately, investment in pilots or in I guess the scaling of your technology, what we'll be doing is facilitating the conversations between parties that hopefully can bring that about. But already what the feedback we've had from both technology and from industry is the sorts of opportunities that are being facilitated through the hub that brings quite a unique group together around a particular challenge, means that there is actually, I guess, opportunities for different ideas to be supported that really don't have other channels through sort of, I guess, more traditional sort of internal corporate innovation initiatives or through sort of more traditional R&D and accelerator initiatives.
Yep. Now this question's about the submissions process. So are the industry collaborators looking to provide specific problems to solve, or at the outset participants will provide a broad capability?
I think the capability should align broadly to those use cases that we've run through today, but ultimately, the idea of this process as well is to consider where there might be opportunity, where that Venn diagram of solutions between the different use cases might be quite circular, where there might be applicability of your technology across a number of different use cases. So, at the moment, in this first phase, we'll be looking for and really only requiring a submission that describes your broad capability with some alignment, with the view then during that pitching process, allowing industry to really explore how applicable your technology is to their particular needs.
I think we've had one more question, which is just about whether this slide deck will be shared, and yes, we can make that available for everyone. And just another question is if someone wants further advice from GreenTech Hub as they're making submissions, what's the best way to contact or reach out to us?
Please reach out through hello@greentechwa.com. But no, absolutely, it's very intentional that the GreenTech Hub itself won't be judging these submissions. We want to work with everyone. So if there's ways that we can help and I guess support your submission, we want to help and support any quality submission to come through. And so yeah, please reach out at any stage if you're looking for any advice or if you're looking for feedback. We'd love to support. Ultimately, we want to see the highest quality submissions as possible coming through the challenge process.
We have no further questions in the Q&A chat. I'll just mention to people that we will be sending out, there will be a link to a survey just to give help you give us feedback on how this webinar went. So we encourage you to please complete that if you may. I see still no further questions. This is the last chance we have to answer questions you have, but of course we're available anytime afterwards. Jason, is there anything you might wish to add just as a final wrap up before we conclude the call if we've got no further questions?
Look, please reach out. Yeah, we should say as well that the recording of this webinar will be available. For people who are from industry and from other accelerators as well, please do feel free to share this opportunity. Again, we are interested in working with parties from all over the globe. We're interested in thinking about how those technologies can be applicable to local markets and to local need and ultimately benefit Western Australia. But ultimately, the solutions, or at least part of the solution, can come from a range of different places, and we're very, very aware of that. So, yeah, please feel free to push out this opportunity through the market. Please, if you're a corporate partner and wanting to participate further in the challenge, we'd love to hear from you. And likewise, if you work within the broader energy infrastructure system, energy innovation space, please reach out as well. Yeah, again, we're very new. This is our first challenge, but what we do want to make sure is we aren't duplicating what other people are doing, but B, also providing as best support for green tech innovation in Western Australia as we possibly can. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. And I think with that, we'll probably conclude this webinar and reach out to us for any further information. And thank you so much for joining us today. We're very excited about the Innovation Challenge and how we might all work together very soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.